Now let's get into some trade targets for week 6.
All right, so I want to lead this off, right, because I just started talking about them for a second. But Bucky Irving, right, he's somebody that's limited right now, may miss next week. I think he's a perfect trade target right now because he's somebody that has a high ceiling, a really stable floor. If you look at that Tampa Bay offense, they're pass heavy, but because they're shorthanded, basically they've been doing a lot of wide receiver screens and like design run plays and all this stuff, kind of getting shifty because and they're making sure that the running backs touch the ball. I.e., example of Rashad White, you just said his name a couple minutes ago. He had a 2-touchdown game, and he's nowhere near the caliber of running back that Bucky Irving is. So I expect him when he comes back to ball out. I mean, he's only had 71 carries over the first 4 games, right? So that's not a lot. Or that's not ideal on what you're looking for, right? You want to give him at least 20 touches a game. But I mean, the last game alone, he had 7 receptions, over 100 yards and receiving yards for that game specifically. Like, he's somebody I would definitely get now. Maybe take a loss or 2 in the next week or so. But then once he comes back, if you look at the back half of the Buccaneers schedule, weeks 14, 15, 16, 17 typically should be your playoff weeks if you're running certain most leagues. So 14 is New Orleans Saints. Week 15 is Atlanta Falcons. Week 16 is the Carolina Panthers. And week 17 is the Miami Dolphins. If you're going to get anybody, make a play for anybody on the damn Buccaneers team. Because Baker, Bucky Irvin, right? Like, maybe you could buy low on Mike Evans, right? I would stay away from Godwin. But there's nobody that's going to sell Emeka Egbuka for anything less than your firstborn, man, because that guy's top 5 right now, wide receivers.
Yeah, I think he's number 3 overall. He was number 1 last week. Dude's been amazing. I mean, I expect him to have a good season, but nothing like this. My goodness. Wow, that's a good schedule for the playoffs, and I totally agree. And if you think about last year, Bucky didn't get started until midseason last year. So right now he's looking unbelievable. If he has to rest for a couple weeks and, you're 3-2 or 4-1, make that trade for sure. And a guy I want to talk about, if you're looking to improve your quarterback situation, I think you should make a move for Jaden Daniels. It's been kind of a rough start for him. He missed a couple games, and Terry McLaurin has 2. He's averaging 19 points a game, which is fine. But like, when you're drafting him, you're expecting 25, 30, So there's plenty of time left in the season. He's an unbelievable player. If you can package someone like Justin Fields and a flex player, you might be able to get him on your team. Take advantage of the emotions of someone that's, maybe started him and is a little disappointed, or, had to take a couple losses because they couldn't start him. I have him in, I think, 3 leagues, and I'm a little disappointed, but I know that he's going to bounce back. And especially when Terry McLaurin's healthy and they're at full capacity, he's going to have an unbelievable season. So I would try to make a trade for Jaden Daniels if you're in need of a quarterback and you've got some pieces to play with.
Oh yeah, I definitely get that. And I'm one of those guys, man. The first 4 weeks, like you were saying, you're kind of developing your team, figuring out who's going to stay, looking at that upcoming, second half of the season. But Jaden Daniels is somebody that hasn't even got a chance to get warmed up yet. So once he gets on fire, brother, he's going to be a top 5 QB all year long. Because right now, the top 10 wide receivers include Sam Darnold, Matt Stafford, as far as fantasy points are concerned. We're talking about guys like that. So I think obviously it comes in streaks. So these guys are hot now, and they eventually fizzle out. So I'd rather have these guys that are going to be hot the second half of the season. You can on them.
And once he's got, you got to remember McLaurin got a late start due to the contract. And so now, that's always gets you a little worried about injuries. We saw what happened to Ayuk last year, and we've seen it before. But McLaurin's going to come back healthy. Debo's been unbelievable. He's just got a lot going on where he can easily bounce back and be a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, I can see that easily. I don't have a trade target, but I gotta sell high, so it's like a target. Like, hey, use this as a trade asset. So Michael Carter, Arizona Cardinals, he's somebody that just got the workload last game kind of by default. You know what I mean? Like he was the hot hand. He had 18 carries for 51 yards. That's terrible, right? He's averaging like 2 yards a carry. He had one touchdown, and then he had 5 receptions for 22 yards. So if you're talking about anybody that's going to be all-time high value, this guy, week one, he's a 1 week wonder. Maybe he might have another good week or two. But I would be look for somebody that is desperate at that position and trade him off. For example, in our league, someone traded him off for Tony Pollard, right? So
Yeah. So
not a bad trade whatsoever, but he capitalized on that trade value altogether,
yeah, I had a couple people try to trade him to me, and they probably have the same thought process as you. This is a short-term thing. I need to plan for the long term. And you can get, some people that are in a situation where they're 1-4, 0-5, and they're like, I got to have a win. So yeah, I'm going to make that trade because my running back's on a bye this week. And that brings me to my next guy that I think you should make a trade for because he's on a bye this week is Jordan Addison. He wasn't nearly as impressive in week 5, even though the points were basically the same, 15 fantasy points. He wasn't nearly as impressive in week 5 as he was in week 4. He was bailed out by a touchdown in the fourth quarter. That was really close. He really didn't have a good stat line until the last 3 minutes of the game. So the person who has Addison is probably aware of that. They were probably watching that game frustrated. It was the only game on in the morning, so you're probably watching it. Mm-hmm. And I was watching it frustrated because I started Addison in like 3 leagues. And then at the end, he got bailed out. But still, he's a great player. And he's going to continue to be very involved in the Minnesota offense. He just came back. He's only 2 games into the season. So if you need to fill a wide receiver slot, if someone needs to fill a wide receiver slot because he's on a bye this week, if they're in need of like, hey, let's do a 2-for-1 and I'll give you Addison and you can afford to put him on your bench, I think it's a great time. Like to target people that are in need of a player and they have a losing record, I think it's, best to do on a solid player's bye week. And that's why I was talking about Pitts last week, and that's why I'm talking about Addison this week. I think when these guys are on a bye and you find a team that's really in need of a win, that's when you can take advantage of the situation. And I think Addison's going to be great the rest of the season, whether it's McCarthy or Carson Wentz at quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely good observation, man. If you were watching that game, which 90% of America was watching that game, right?
It's the only thing on.
It was actually a decent one too.
Yeah.
You probably were on that roller coaster emotionally, like, damn, I just got bailed out, like you said, in the fourth quarter by this touchdown. I'm not gonna, bet on this again, right? So they end up selling high on him. But much like yourself, I do think he's definitely going to be a high value asset. It's not going to be Jalen Naylor getting a bunch of those passes. Like it's just Jalen Naylor happened to be there all camp, So
yeah,
you're right. He will get integrated, and he's going to be easily a wide receiver 2/3. So at least 15, 17 points a game as a floor.
Yeah. And he was great last year. Like I said, he's just getting warmed up. He's going to be awesome. Target those in need. Take advantage of those emotions.